Welcome back to Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. Today's episode, powered by Perfect Sports Nutrition, is all about 8 mistakes first-time fighters make. All right, in today's episode, we're discussing 8 different mistakes first-time fighters make. And I'm gonna give a little bit about my experience when I first started amateur fighting, as well as mistakes I've seen from my new team here at Bazooka Kickboxing. So let's get into the first one. And I think the first mistake amateur fighters make for the first time stepping in is creating a false narrative. Sometimes we feel like we need this tension to get into this ring, right? Even me personally, I thought about the worst, darkest things possible to get me motivated. I felt like I had to go in there angry. So what did I do? I thought about this opponent who I didn't know, hurting my family, and basically killing my dog that I don't even own. So the idea of creating a false narrative becomes bad, all right? It gets more tension. You get more stress hormones being released leading up to the fight, and it's just not healthy. Remember, at the end of the day, look at it as a sport. Look at it as an opportunity to compete, to get better. If you put so much negativity, so much stress, so many damaging and negative thoughts in it, it'll honestly get your heart rate up more, make you more stressed leading up to the fight. Leading up to that first fight, you need to stay as relaxed as possible. You know how to train. Your mind's gonna play tricks on you. As you get closer to the fight, I can guarantee you, your mind's gonna start telling you, I'm not in good enough shape. I have to train harder. You gotta cut your weight. So controlling your mindset leading up to the fight is one of the most important things you can do. Trust your team, trust your training, trust your camps, and try to kind of eliminate those thoughts. Usually, I worked full time, so it kept my mind distracted. But as soon as you start getting into those negative thoughts, change the activity you're doing, keep your mind busy, not to think of that, because we don't want those stress hormones taking away all the good things we've done in our camp. All right. The second thing, and now we're talking about more as we get to the fight, and I'm going to start about warm-up. Now, the biggest mistake people make in warm-up is as they start warming up, they start holding their breath. Everything, and they're holding it, and you're not allowing that heart rate, you're not allowing the oxygen to come in and to go to your working muscles, and then your heart rate goes up, you start feeling more anxious, and then the time you get into the ring, you're fatigued, you're tired because you're holding your breath. So coaches, make sure you're always reminding your athletes, take those deep breaths. Don't have to do full rounds in the back. Little, small warm-ups. Get them warmed up, because there's so much stress and anxiety happening for the first fight that we don't need to warm up for our opponents that long. Which brings us in to the third point is don't warm up too long, right? You don't have to warm up. Just a little bit. Too many times I see, I'm not warmed up yet. You have to do more. You have to. The more you're doing, the more stress, mixed with the anxiety, mixed with holding your breath, it all comes crashing down. And the time you actually need to perform, you're exhausted, you're tired. And I remember going into my first fight, and you see me walking out, I have it on one of my amateur highlights, as I'm breathing heavily going to the ring because I warmed up a little too long. I relied on other people telling me how to do warm-ups, when at the end of the day, I gotta know myself, right? If usually in training I need 5-10 minutes, but if you're starting to add 30-minute, 40-minute warm-ups, and now it's getting way too long and you're just gonna get too tired. All right, so now we're in the fight. Some of the mistakes I see is, one, getting too aggressive. What happens now is you'll get into that first round, you're so anxious to start throwing, then when you start throwing, what happens is you get too aggressive. And then you don't finish your opponent. You have all the bigger gear on, the big shin guards, the big glove, headgear a lot of times. Me as an amateur, I actually had to wear chest protectors too. So at this point now, I wasted so much energy. I thought I could finish him with low kicks, and he keeps getting up and up. And then by the third round, I had no gas left. And you gotta think, it's only 6 minutes. There were only 2-minute rounds, 3 rounds, and you're still getting exhausted. Even though you're training 10, 15, 20 rounds while you're preparing for this fight, but all of these extra things start to add up. So understanding, don't get too aggressive. It's your first fight. Move a little bit. Stay patient, especially in the first round. I always tell new time fighters, feel it out in there. I know you want to get in there and get the quick finish, but you're going to get reps. You're going to get experience by moving a little bit, trying to use a jab, set things up, and continually breathe. After you hit a combination, move. I always talk about using the triangle step. Get out, catch your breath, maybe practice on some defense. Don't just get into mid-range and start throwing everything with so much power, okay? So don't get too aggressive. Now, with that comes with not throwing everything with power, okay? And this sometimes takes fighters years to develop. And there's a lot of fighters who don't even learn this skill until they turn as professionals. So what happens now is every punch is a knockout punch, when realistically that's not really feasible. You have to touch things up, you have to set things up, you have to feint. So don't throw everything with power. Think of the idea of just touching, setting things up. Now, a popular thing in the UFC lately is as soon as someone gets really tired, you hear a lot of people saying, don't worry about the knockout. Just touch, move your feet, okay? You don't always have to throw the knockout punch. As the fight gets later on, the chances of knocking someone out decreases, but you need to have that energy to keep up. If you went too hard, too aggressive early, this is where your opponent could take advantage of the later round. So not everything has to be a knockout punch. Learn to set things up. Change the intensity, change the power, you know. That was one of the main things I had to learn going into my world title fight, okay? I was so used to maybe knocking people out early on in my professional career that if I didn't, you know, I'd start feeling that fatigue. So understanding that change of intensity, change of power is going to help you quite a bit. All right, now the other mistake we're going to make in our first fight is headhunting, right? It's so easy to want to knock someone out. Your friends are cheering, your team's going nuts, everyone's encouraging you, go, go, go. The problem is here now, you end up just blasting punches to the head. If your opponent's just sitting there covering their head and you're wasting all this energy just blasting punches off the head, take that little split second and focus on maybe changing levels a little bit, resetting, looking for counter shots, block countering back, counter the counter. Those are the types of games you have to start developing as time goes on. If you just sit there and headhunt, you actually realize as you get more experience, headhunting actually makes it harder to knock out your opponent, right? If you hurt someone to the head, the first thing they do is they're going to cover it. They're going to protect themselves, and then what happens is everything else opens up, but then you waste so much energy off of them defending their head, okay? So that is the mistake. Don't headhunt, okay? Try to mix things up. And by headhunting, it means mix things up, which is the next point, okay? Mix things up by using different types of blocks. Too many times now, we don't want to block leg kicks. We don't block punches. We just keep coming forward. Focus on defense, right? If someone kicks, work on blocking. Work on lifting those legs up, okay? Same thing with the striking. First-time fighters, right, we talk about headhunting, are only going to punch the head, right? Mix things up. You can jab low kick, use a body kick. Putting the two strikes together is very valuable. Just like defending them. You have to defend the head punches. You have to start lifting your legs to block. Don't just sit there and take shots. We're so focused our first time fighting on offense that a lot of times we forget about the defensive part of things, okay? So a good strategy, if you can stay relaxed, is let your opponent waste their energy. Let them headhunt. Let them get too aggressive. At that time, work on your defense, work on your countering, and then you can have a more effective and better first fight, okay? So make sure you mix things up. Make sure it's attacking with punches, kicks, and knees, right? As well as defense. Don't just sit there and be okay with eating a low kick, okay? Block low kicks. Look for countering and those types of things, all right? So the last point I made, and I touched upon it a little bit earlier, is making sure we try to level change and mix things up. By level changing, touch the body, hit the legs. We have so many levels to go to that if we just focus on one, we're going to get too tired. It's too narrow focused. Have fun with it. Stay relaxed as possible. Use your breathing and try to mix things up. I can guarantee you one front kick to the body, one hard left kick that even you take in a fight, you're going to realize like, oh my God, my gas tank is gone just from my opponent giving me one knee. I don't want to go. I'm scared. My gas tank's gone. Effectively attacking the body is very important because, one, we're used to blocking head punches. But when you go into amateur fighting, we're not used to taking big liver shots, you know, big kicks to the stomach. So at this point, it's going to play to a good advantage for you to try to attack the body of your opponent. Okay? So I gave you 8 different things that you can focus on when approaching your first fight. So many different things to think about, but I think these are the key. And again, a lot of times you might go into your first fight. I made probably 7 of these 8 mistakes. I did a really good job at using low kicks in my first fight, but guess what? I threw it with all the power in the world. He kept getting up because we're wearing big shin guards, and I was gassed in the 3rd round. I couldn't even throw anything, all right? So I was a victim of all of these, but with experience it comes. But me giving you this, at least you can start thinking about these things. And if I'm going to leave you with one main point, the stuff in the fight fight, a lot of times it's going to be natural. It's going to be your instinct. It's going to be how you were raised. It's going to be how your training is. But what you can really control is what happens in your camp and just before the fight and warm-up. You're going to be so much energy with anxious nerves that you don't need a long warm-up. Don't push the pace too much. You're going to really need every single little bit of energy you need has to be in that fight, okay? So do what you can control before, the breathing, the relaxation, the short warm-ups, and then with time, hopefully the things in the fight become better, all right? Hope you gained a lot from today's little episode, which is a little different. I wanted to give you a good little talk and a little bit of discussion on this point because it takes a little bit more time to kind of give these answers to you guys, all right? So make sure you keep liking, subscribing, and sharing Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. Support channel sponsors. We have Perfect Sports Nutrition. If you use code Bazooka20, you're getting 20% off your supplements. We have Hayabusa by going to HayabusaFight.com, all linked in the description below. And these videos are all brought to you by bazookatraining.com. And you got to think about it, for only $9.99 US a month, you get 4 videos every single week from me. Home videos, bag work videos, tutorials, sparring drills. So you can be anywhere in the world, have any equipment, and still be able to learn and get good kickboxing curriculum, all right? So $9.99 a month, plus guess what? After each week goes on, those all stay in an archive. So you can go back to hundreds of videos to practice and literally start from a beginner and get all these advanced principles, all right? So if you're fighting for the first time, I recommend you starting at bazookatraining.com as soon as possible. All right, we'll see you next time here at Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. Welcome to Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA online training. I'm Bazooka Joe Valtellini, the owner here at Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. Over the past year, I've designed and created a website to teach Bazooka curriculum at home and across the world. The purpose of this website is for you to, 1, hit your fitness and health goals, all while learning world-class martial arts instruction from me. The beautiful thing about this website, it's geared for all levels. So if you're learning martial arts for the first time as a beginner, we help you progress into the bigger stages. And if you're a pro fighter, guess what? We have different fight concepts for you to improve your tool set and your skills in the ring or cage. As the fastest rising kickboxing world champion and a lifelong martial artist with over 30 years of experience, I've been able to combine my passion for martial arts and teaching to create this website. This website is going to give you some of the tricks, secrets, and inside look at some of the training I use to win my world title. Once you subscribe to this site, you're going to be getting weekly training videos and tutorials that you can do from anywhere. The sections are broken up into 3 parts. The first is bag workout. So if you have a bag at home or at your gym, you can use these workouts to supplement your training. The second is at-home workouts. A lot of us don't have the room for a bag or a bag in general, so these workouts are for no equipment needed and you can do them anywhere. And finally, the tutorial section. If you're having any problems with a specific technique or fight concept that's covered in any of the workouts, go to the tutorial section, learn the technique, and then go back to the workout, and this time, do it with proper technique. One of the added benefits once you subscribe is the forums section, where you can get a more personalized experience where you can ask questions and I'll be able to go in there and answer them. It's all about building a team and a community of martial artists helping each other grow. So subscribe now to get access to all the videos plus more so you can be part of the squad here at Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA.